All right, so getting back into the reviews here, we are reviewing all of the cards in Eldraine. We are now on the green cards. Be sure to check out the other videos if you want to see the other colors. Remember, like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Be sure to like the video, especially all that are watching on stream right now. Please like this. This helps out a lot. Like the video. It'll help a bunch. But yeah, just disclaimer, this is my first time seeing most of these cards. We're kind of just pie in the sky speculating what we can do with these, what we think's good or bad, what decks they go into, and just having fun with the set, because I'm getting to see the cards just like you. So let's get going. We're going to talk about Blossoming Tortoise, 2 colorless, green, 3/3 turtle. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards, then return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activated abilities of lands you control cost 1 less to activate. Land creatures you control get +1/+1. Ooh, lots of things to say about this card. It's one, kind of a ramp card, right? Because you get to mill stuff, put a land into play. High chance you'll get at least 1. In multiples, you get to reduce, because this doesn't say reduce cost down to 1. This says reduce cost by 1. So if you have 2 or 3 of these, you could have some land costs that cost almost nothing, right? And then land creatures get +1/+1. So that means like with 2 of these, the foundries you activate for 0 and they're 3/3s. So that's pretty sweet. We do have creature lands in this set, so that's a thing. You get to reduce part of their cost. It is a 4 mana 3/3, which feels a little bit bad, right? Because for 4 mana, you're not necessarily getting a lot, necessarily. This is, I don't know how to feel about this card. Like, I want this card, like, in my heart says, man, we could do some fun stuff with this card. And there's probably some weird combos by making the land activations not cost much. But my head says, but is that really good enough in most 60 card games these days? I'm thinking not. But I would really, really love to lose to this card. Like, I would love to be across the battlefield when somebody does something absurd with this, and then I lose. You know what I mean? Let's see. I don't care if it's not optimal. I'm putting this into my Titanium Meld deck. Yeah, and that's totally reasonable. Like, this does absolutely fit into those types of decks. And that was my first thought of where this probably ends up going, to be honest. And you'd get to activate the land 1 less as well, which is kind of fun. Let's see. If you're playing mono red and get that dragon, it does a lot of damage. Oh, the dragon's from the other video. Yeah. I'm making my Argoth mills cost only 2 or 3 and making 4/4 lands into 5/5s. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I do think it has a place. I just know that even getting those decks to work right now has been a little bit of a struggle in the past. I don't know if this makes them better or easier. It's very possible that it does, to be honest. But I don't know that, and that's kind of where I'm like, we have to wait and see. Because we are adding another 4 mana thing to those decks to make them work as well. It's not like 4 is super cheap, you know? Especially with all the removal that's available in Standard right now. Let's see, moving on. Let's see if we can find something more exciting. Bramble Familiar. This artwork looks like that fox thing is, it's a raccoon. It's just kind of like drawn in after the fact. Like, it's obviously supposed to be there. I just think the glow effect makes it look weird. But it's a colorless and a green for a 2/2 elemental raccoon. You can tap it to add a green, or you can pay a colorless and a green, discard a card, return it to its owner's hand. You have Fetch Quest, 5 green for a sorcery adventure, mill 7 cards, then put a creature, enchantment, or land from among the milled cards onto the battlefield. So it's a 2/2 for 2, so a grizzly bear that you can tap for mana, which is kind of where we are in Magic these days. There's 2 mana things that you tap, make mana, so it's not weird. For some reason, you know what? I get it. Paying a colorless and a green, you can return it to your hand, so now you can use the Fetch Quest if you don't need the mana anymore. I get what we're doing here. And then mill 7. Like, I mean, I guess if I want the mana creature, I kind of get the Fetch Quest for free, right? It's just add-on, just tacked on to an okay creature I want. The scary thing, though, is I kind of want to play this in a deck that also plays stuff like Vorinclex, right? But I can't, like, mill myself with Vorinclex and mill myself with Fetch Quest. So I feel like one or the other is probably going to happen, but not both. But I don't think it's terrible to have the option of having both in the deck. I think that's totally reasonable. And just having a 2/2 that ramps is probably okay. I could find a home for this. Because some of the other ramp creatures, we have 1/2s and we have 1/3s. But we don't have any that are 2 power right now, I don't think. For sure not any that are 2/2s. There might be a random 2/1 or something, but this is probably okay. I don't think it's great, but it's okay. What I'm hoping is in whatever the other fairy tale set we get, where like the anamorphic animals or whatever, maybe we get something that cares about raccoons. But yeah, this is fine. I don't think it's stellar, but it's good enough. I will say though, on the mill 7, it does say put a creature, enchantment, or land card from on the battlefield. If it was each, I think I'd be super excited about it, right? If you could find a creature, find a land, find enchantment, put them into play, that'd be awesome. But unfortunately it says or, which makes it a pretty steep cost to get one thing. But what else do we have? Scrolling through here. Oh, I did see this one. This one's interesting. Elvish Archivist. A colorless and a green for an 0/1 Elf Artificer. Whenever one or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Elvish Archivist. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever one or more enchantments enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now, I get why the ability only triggers once, because it's probably to keep you from comboing out or doing something silly, so I at least get that. But an 0/1 for 2, that's tough. That's real tough. Like, you couldn't even give me a 1/1. You couldn't make it an 0/2. like, why did it have to be an 0/1? Like, this is so fragile. And I have decks that like playing artifacts, like putting +1/+1 counters on things. Like, this could still maybe find its way into those decks, but man, just playing an 0/1 with no real value of its own, that's tough. That's real tough. I can't, This makes me hurt a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I'm there on this one. And again, it probably fits in some deck where once you get it, you're going to go ridiculous with it. But yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to put this in a couple decks. But I'm going to be starting out with pretty low expectations. Okay. This card, I had a discussion about this card. So I have seen this one. But Feral Encounter, green, sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may exile a creature card from among them. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. You may cast the exiled card this turn. At the beginning of your next combat step this turn, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power up to 1 target creature you don't control. So here are my issues with this card. First thing, the card is Feral Encounter, right? We're seeing this, I'm assuming, big bad wolf type thing jumping out at a Red Riding Hood. So it already feels like it should be an instant. Why it's a sorcery, I do not know. The closest thing I've heard is like a judge say, well, it's easier templating or whatever. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure we could deal with this being as an instant. Because how nice would it be, like, during your opponent's end step, you're like, hey, I'm going to Feral Encounter. Cool, I'm going to exile a thing that I might be able to play next turn, right? That's the other thing, right? You're going to pay 2 mana and not even necessarily be able to play the best thing you find. Because you just may not have enough mana left over. And then, separately, when you get to your attack step, you can have one of your creatures bite another creature. There's no reason for this card to be a sorcery. We totally could have been, like, just worded as during your... It actually even says that, right? Target you at the it says at the beginning of your next combat phase. So it didn't have to say combat phase this turn. It could just say at the beginning of the next combat phase on your turn. And we'd be like, okay, cool. When it's my turn in my combat phase, then I get the bite part of this. Now, will this still get played? Very possible. Because getting this late in the game, worst case scenario, it's still a 2-mana sorcery that allows you to have a kill spell, right? Even if you don't find something you can cast, or the thing you cast gets countered, you at least still have a creature on the battlefield that's going to get to fight something, or bite something, so that's good. Fight being both creatures hit each other, bite being your creature just gets them. So yeah, this isn't... Yeah, I'm just not feeling this. I'm not feeling it. Like, I want it... man, if this was an instant, it would be so much better. So much better if it was an instant. It's just not here. I'm just not... Ugh. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. I wish. It's so close, though. And like I said, it might still just be good enough as a sorcery bite spell with upside. You know what I mean? If you're playing some aggro deck that wants removal, you might just go, you know what? I can play this for removal, and then it still gives me a chance to get a bonus creature. I almost wish, though, that the card gave you the option of, if you don't play it, it just goes into your hand. Because in a way, you kind of are being forced to overcommit just to get the bite part of it, right? Or you're just giving up a card, which is kind of terrible. Though, I guess on the other hand, it's a pseudo-free card, so I mean, I guess there's that. Would it be bad if the exile cards were castable forever even? I don't think so. I think that would be reasonable too. It would add more words to the card, but I think it'd be possible. Bonus creature only for a turn, so it's really not good until maybe 4 or 6. Yeah, that's the issue with it, right? So you can use it early as a removal spell, but then you can only cast like a 2 or 3 mana thing probably. So, the card's all right. It's all right. All right, let's see if we can find something we're going to have more fun and be excited about. Okay, this costs 6, so it probably does something. Gruff triplets. 3 colorless, green, for Satyr Warrior. Oh, it's the Billy Goat's Gruff. That's what this is, right? The 3 Gruff triplets. 3/3, trample. When triplets enters the battlefield, if it isn't a token, create 2 tokens that are copies of it. When this dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to its power onto each other card named Gruff triplets. Got it. Each other creature. So you get 9 power for 6 mana. You get 3 3/3s. And then in the event that one of them dies, you get to put the power of whatever died, so in this case 3, onto your other creature. So you get to turn 3 3s into 6 6s. I mean, this is something. A reason to play 3 blind mice, Delaney says. Maybe, but this is a good excuse to want to ramp into something, right? This I'm kind of excited about, like, because now you ramp into, even as a late game card, you're like, okay, well, I got 9 power worth of things across 3 bodies late in the game, right? Your opponent sweeps the board, you're like, great, I have a 9/9. What do you want to do? And if they spot remove one of them, then instantly the others are 6 6s, right? So you went from having 9 power to having 12 power. And that's if you don't play a second one, right? Because then all of the things named Gruff triplets will also get the 3 3s every time one dies. Or if you're really savvy and you have a way to sacrifice something, you could actually sacrifice one to turn however many of them into +3/+3s, and then sacrifice another one to give everything +6/+6 or whatever, and then it just gets dumb, right? So that's a thing. So yeah, this is a cool card. How good it is, I have no idea, but I could definitely see some decks where if I'm already doing some ramp type things, or I'm caring about treasure or whatever, like this could be a good way to just spend some of that mana and get a lot of upside, actually. So that one's at least a little bit exciting. What is this? Mosswood Dread Knight. Colorless and a green for 3/2. Human Knight. Oh, it's a knight in green. That's kind of cool. Trample. When this dies, you can cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. And the adventure is Dread Whispers for a colorless and a black sorcery. Draw a card and you lose 1 life. You know, this card is pretty strong. Right? The bad part, if you want to call it that, the adventure is just colorless and a black, lose a life, draw a card. You pay 2, you get a 3/2 trampler, and then if it dies, then on the same turn it dies, from the way it reads, right? When it dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn even. So it doesn't have to be this turn. So next turn, you're just like, okay, I'm going to play the adventure again, lose a life, draw a card, and then now I could just pay 2 again and have a 3/2. This card's really good. Like, this card's actually very good. Like, there's nothing to say bad about this card. Like, why this card isn't pre-ordering as like a $9 or $10 rare, I don't know yet. I think if you can find these for under $5 on release weekend, I'm not saying go out and buy a playset, but I might pick up at least 2. Because I can't see how this card's bad. Now, it happens to be a knight, happens to be a human, so it might fit each of those creature type builds, theme decks, maybe, I don't know. But those are 2 relevant types we have to think about. But it's a way to draw cards. It's a reasonable creature, a 3/2 for 2 with trample, so if you have anything that pumps your stuff, that's a bonus. And then you just get to keep playing it. It's literally, unless they exile it, it's a creature that just doesn't die. Like, this is a cool design for a card. Like, you block, it dies, you're like, cool. Next turn, I'm going to draw a card, lose a life, replay a 3/2, right? If I have nothing else to do even. Like, that's the worst that happens. Like, I'm into this card. Like, I'm not going to lie. If I'm playing anything with black and green in it, it probably starts with 4 of this card. Seriously. This is actually really good. Actually, I'm a little dumbfounded by this card, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. The more I'm looking at it, I'm kind of like, why does this card exist? All right, Questing Druid. It's a colorless and a green for a 1/1 human druid. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a +1/+1 counter on Questing Druid. Okay, we've had versions of this in the past. The red side is a colorless and a red, Seek the Beast, instant adventure, exile the top 2 cards of your library until your next turn. You may play those cards. My issue with cards like this is they just don't seem to work out the way you want them to. I mean, we've tried a few different, when they've had like the Quirion Druids or whatever reprinted and stuff a couple years ago, we tried that. It just, I think there was a Merfolk and Ixalan that had like a similar ability. Like we've done this a few times and it's just not great, right? Because are you really, I mean, I guess, I almost feel like if this card did anything else, then it would probably be solid. But right now, it's almost like if you were playing a green, red, or green black deck that was more heavy red or heavy green than it, or I mean, heavy black than it was green, then you go ahead and play this and just like almost every spell you play is going to trigger this, right? Or if you build it in a deck that has a bunch of multicolor cards, that's the other option, right? You play a bunch of red-green stuff, a bunch of red-black stuff. I mean red-green or black-green stuff. Then you're just getting bonuses anyway and getting the upside of being able to play Seek the Beast in your deck. So it's almost like if you're playing multicolor with green and you can cast Seek the Beast, great. Then maybe you consider this card. If not, I'm probably not that concerned with playing this card. I will just find other ways to draw cards. What do we got here? Another knight, actually. So Sentinel of the Lost Lore, colorless green, 3/4, elf knight. Actually, it's an elf as well, which is cool because elves are another deck that I have been very, very close on. I just needed like 1 or 2 more cards. So this is a 3/4 for 3, so we're already on the upside. When it enters the battlefield, you choose 1 or more, actually, so we could choose all of these if we wanted to. Return target card you own in exile that has an adventure to your hand. Put target card you don't own in exile that has an adventure on the bottom of somebody's library, opponent's library, and exile target player's graveyard. This card's good. The green got 2 good knights, apparently. Right? So you get a 3-mana 3/4, which by itself is already solid. And then you get to return an adventure. If you have an adventure sitting there that you haven't turned into a creature yet, you can just return it and reuse that adventure next turn. You can keep value away from your opponent, because if they have an adventure sitting out there, you can just put it on the bottom of the library. And then if they're doing any reanimator shenanigans or anything else, or flashback spells or whatever, you just get rid of their graveyard. It's like, this is actually really good. Yeah, you can absolutely target your opponent's adventure. Like, that's the whole point of it, right? That's what Daniel's asking here. You can't target your opponent's exiled adventures. No, it literally put target card you don't own in exile that has an adventure on the bottom of the thing. So yeah, you totally can target your opponent's adventures. Says, I think it only to tuck away their creatures and enchantments that have adventures that are already on board. Nope, it says from exile. And whenever you play an adventure goes into exile. So it's made specifically for those. But it could technically be any other card that's exiled that happens to have an adventure for some reason. Because there are a lot of cards that like, exile this card, you can cast it your next turn, that sort of thing. So you could actually stop them from having other cards, potentially. But yeah, this card feels good. I mean, I like it. I like it. I will say, the art, the person barely looks like an elf. It's like a human with very pointy ears. But, you know, beside that, really cool. So I'm into it. All right, so green got at least a couple of things here. What is this? The Huntsman's Redemption. 2 colors and a green. Create a 3/3 green beast creature token as the first chapter here on this saga. On chapter 2, you sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature or basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And then on the 3rd chapter, up to 2 target creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. Yeah, this is playable. I think, again, if we already have stuff that cares about tokens, or you're copying tokens, or doing any of that stuff, well, just playing 3 to make a 3/3 beast is fine. And then you also get to go, possibly, if you get to keep a creature, sacrifice something, and then if you do, go find a creature out of your library. And then at the end, 2 creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample. I don't think this is stellar, don't get me wrong, but it's at least playable. And it's kind of like the most I could say about it. Now, do I think it'll show up in a lot of decks? Not likely. You know, this is one of those ones that if I already had a token type deck for maybe Commander, maybe I could justify room for this because now I just get a tutor because I'm getting rid of some 1/1 or 2/2 I have in play. But for 60 card Magic, doesn't feel like the most exciting thing. So I'm probably not going to play this a bunch, but who knows? Maybe I have something that cares about Beast or something, and I at least consider it. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's good for limited that I just assume that's a thing. So like, I leave that to other people to decide for the most part. Thunderous Debut. It's a 8 mana, so 6 colorless green. You can bargain where you can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. Look at the top 20 cards of your library. You can reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them. If the spell was bargained, put the revealed cards onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put the revealed cards into your hand and shuffle your library. Wow, okay, so for 8 mana, if you're willing to sacrifice a thing, you can just get 2 things from your top 20 cards and put them into play. Man, you know, if I'm ramping hard enough, I can put 2 Gruff triplets into play. Like, that's kind of awesome, right? Or something that maybe gives my stuff haste and some other big creature. Possibly, that could be a thing. Like, this feels cool. I just don't know what I'm doing with it. You know what I mean? I think that's the problem. Like, because 8's a lot. That being said, we're casting, like, Breach the Multiverse and whatever. So maybe 8's not that much anymore. But 8 is a big number. And we almost need them to be... You know what? If I was playing a deck that always was ramping into, like, Tyrannix Rex and stuff, then this card's actually viable, I think. Or Titans and, you know, whatever. Things that have this, like, big value or can try to end the game when I get them. I think then this becomes some level of valuable. I think if all I'm doing is going and getting, like, a Vorinclex and something or whatever, that's just not enough to make it worth the investment. And the risk of just, like, putting creatures out there might just die before I get real value out of them, you know? So, you know, if I'm playing, like, the big in-game hitters, and I do have some decks that already ramp up and try to do that, one of these going in there basically can be the card that helps you end the game on the spot. So, like, I'm okay with that. But I don't think this is a card you're going to play more than one of in a deck, just because it costs 8. I mean, even if you have good ramp stuff in your deck, it's just a lot to invest. What else do we have? Okay, green has a Virtue. Let's see what green gets here. Beautiful art, though. Virtue of Strength, 5 and 2 green. So we got a 7 mana enchantment. If you tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times that much mana instead. And it has Greenbrier Growth, which is 1 colorless sorcery. Return target creature or land from your graveyard to your hand. Green got the worst one of these. Yeah. And I don't think it's close. Like, don't make me wrong. Like, you basically have a regrowth for 1 green mana. You can return a creature or land. It's not even any card. Like, if it lets you return any card from your graveyard to your hand, that at least makes Garenbrig Growth a little bit better. But this is just a creature or a land from a graveyard to your hand, not even to play or anything like that. And then you have to spend 7 just to be able to let you ramp up. Now, again, if your whole deck is trying to do just crazy ramping and we're trying to kill people with like a 32-point furball or something, congratulations, we found your card, right? But the difference is, for me, the other virtues are just better, right? Like the white one is, you know, or actually, yeah, because the white one's untapping stuff every turn and putting +1/+1s. The black one gets to kill things and you gain life, and then you get to reanimate something. The red one's letting you look at extra cards you can cast and getting to deal damage with the other thing. Like, the green just got the short end of the stick here. It's just not that good. Sad, but it ain't. Like, to be fair, green got some solid creatures, and that's usually green's jam anyway. But yeah, this Virtue of Strength doesn't really compare with the other ones, I don't feel like. And it looks like we have another rare in green. Wildwood Mentor. 2 colorless and a green for a tree folk that's a 1/1. Whenever a token enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on this card. When this card attacks, a target attacking creature gets +X/+X until the turn where X is this card's power. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How do we feel about this? It only gets a +1/+1 when a token enters the battlefield. So you have to play a bunch of junky or lower power creatures to make this one big. I feel like if it was when a creature enters the battlefield, man, it'd be so much better. But the other thing too is you can usually put a lot of tokens on the battlefield in a turn, and that could be pretty devastating too. Though it doesn't have trample or anything else, so even if you had like rabble rousing and you attack with 3 things, like this will get a bunch of bonuses, but you know, just can be chump blocked by their stuff. Yeah, like this is what I'd call like borderline playable, but you know, it's probably the last card I'm squeezing into a list if I just want to try something out or something. But I'm not feeling this that much. It's okay. Yeah, I thought about that too. Like, you know, does it go with Gala Greeters? Yeah, sure. But a lot of things go with Gala Greeters, right? Like, do I want to cast this on 3 or do I want to cast Jenny Fae? Right? You know what I mean? Like, I can just get an additional creature every turn. Right? I could play this or I could play, I don't know, the Teething Wormlet, right? And then get bonuses from all my artifacts or whatever. So, like, I don't think this is terrible, but for the cost, I'm like, is there's other stuff we could kind of do? I mean, honestly, we could even say that the Kadama, right? Get to put a counter on thing and then attack, and then now we're getting extra lands. So, I don't know if this is going to make the cut in a lot of things. If it had trample or reach or something, some other keyword ability just on its own, I think I'd be more inclined to play it and be more excited about it. But as is, it's just kind of okay. Not the most exciting thing. But yeah, those are all the green cards. So now we're going to get into, I guess, the artifacts and multicolor things. And yeah, if you didn't see the other stuff, if you just joined the stream, all these will be up as videos. You can check out the other stuff. If you're just watching on video, well, yeah, everything's else going to be on video. Please remember, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It helps out the video. If you want to be a member here and support me, there are benefits for being members. You get to participate, decide what's going to be on the videos, because I put up polls that go just to the members. I also have a chance for you to get your stuff featured on the YouTube channel, all that. Otherwise, yeah, have fun. Enjoy Eldraine.